Alright guys, so you saw from that little bit of footage there, that's just me going into the thermostat, checking the alert history. No current alerts. It's Trane XV system. We put it in about 5 or 6 years ago. Older couple. Have my opinion on selling really advanced finicky systems and thermostats to old people, but frustrations can run high in those situations. But anyway, they said it wasn't cooling or heating Tuesday morning for whatever reason. We did come out yesterday afternoon. We came out and did the maintenance on it Monday. There was a water line leak under the house, and the water had gotten into a piece of ductwork, so we came out yesterday and replaced that ductwork. But the last alert code on the thermostat was on the 13th of this month, and it wasn't a major alert. The red alert at the bottom was it lost its time clock or something. Not too uncommon with these. Most common problem with these XV units is when you get a quick power surge or a power flicker, you get the faults for loss of 230 volts AC voltage. Then you got another alert for below 180 something DC voltage. That just means the drive discharged because it lost power coming to it from the house. Typically with that, all you got to do is just turn the power off of this thing for about 5 minutes, reset it, and it'll come back on. But I don't know what, if this thing won't work and it shut down, and there was a problem on Tuesday morning or Monday morning. Said the guy here yesterday looked at it and he couldn't find anything, and they just wanted a supervisor to come back out and double check it. And that's why I'm here. But I mean, right now it's in standby. I've got the thermostat off on this, which is typically what I'll do when I first get to one. Just turn the thermostat off, and then we will go in and kind of go through the history on the thermostat and then the outdoor unit. But it's in standby mode here, so I'm gonna go in here and check my alerts real quick and see what it gives me here. They don't display the same as they do when you're checking on alert history. We'll go down one. Compressor lube, which is normal. EEV, it was in limp mode. Alert 2. So anyway, that's what the 12 up there means. I don't know how well you can see that, but there's one low superheat fault. That might have been from going through maybe a defrost cycle or something on a real cold night. I don't know. We'll run it and check it. There's system oil return, and that's that clock one. And then the DC low volt, you'll see that if you turn off the power to it, which we would have done that while we were doing the maintenance. You'll see that fault. So I'm just going to turn it on and run it. I'm going to check the air handler, see if there's any red light flashes under the house, and just do a once over on it. But I'm not seeing that there's nothing in the alert history that tells me that anything happened to this unit yesterday. Because if it shuts down for whatever reason, it's going to flash an alert for whatever went wrong with it. So let me check it out. Let's go into the house and see if we got an alert code. Alright, so standby. It's TAM. Which one is this? This is the TAM 8 or the TAM 9? This is the TAM 9. Yeah, so it'll display an alert there. It'll go back and forth between standby and whatever your alert is. And I have no red lights flashing, and the yellow is a status. It's not any kind of a caution or any alert. So no red lights flashing. So I'm anticipating another false alarm. But I'm gonna go in the house, turn this thing on in cooling first, and run it and check it. It is 70 degrees outside today. 2 days ago it was 18 degrees and freezing Monday morning. Here it is Wednesday, and It's almost pushing 70 outside. It might be about 68. Yeah. So anyway, let's go turn the air conditioner on. It's 74 in the house, then I'll run it back in heating after air conditioning. Alright guys, I've got this thing on in cooling. 68 degrees outside, at 75 in the house, so I think I'll get a more accurate gauge on what my pressures are. Superheat and subcooling right now, running it, and then I'll switch it into heat test, defrost cycle, all that. But we get a lot of, I don't know, false calls. There's a little bit of pressure come out of that thing when I opened it up. Might need to tighten that Schrader core a little bit, maybe replace it. But we're gonna get hooked up to it, see what our superheat subcooling is. Some people run these things in test mode. You can go put this thing on, go into the test setup, and what's called check charge heating, check charge cooling. I tend to just crank the thermostat up or crank it down, because I maybe it's just old school, I don't know. I just like to run things as they operate, as the thermostat calls, things like that, because that's when you're having the problems. The homeowners aren't running their system in test mode to heat and cool. So, I mean, if you're doing a basic maintenance, you want to just run a quick test, make sure your heat strips come on, things like that. But on a service call, you know, I tend to want to check it as it operates. Anyway, the homeowner is controlling it. Last thing we did on this unit was the solenoid for the reversing valve. It's not a typical 24 volt valve. I'll show you that here in a minute. It is a communicating kind of a one-step valve. What it does is it gets a quick pulse. Being a communicating system, truly communicating system, variable speed indoor blower, the blower on these things ramp up and down with the compressor speed. That's what makes this a better variable speed system than a Bosch or any of that other inverter mess you see out here on residential systems. Maybe some other manufacturers have made that change. I'm not following Bosch and Goodman on Twitter, so I don't know what they do. I really don't care, to tell you the truth. I'll deal with that when I run up on one. But so it truly adjusts airflow, makes awesome dehumidification in a house with one of these. They work great with all the Trane equipment that we put in for 15 years now. This has really been the least problematic one, but you got this. It's not a 24 volt solenoid valve. It gets a pulse, one for heating, for I think it's 4 volts DC, then it'll get another 11 volt DC pulse to switch back to cooling, or vice versa. It's 11 and 4, but I can't remember which one's heating, which one's cooling. It'll show me inside the CDA which one it is, but I'm going to run it from the thermostat as intended. But last year we did have to replace that because it wasn't responding to the call for heat. It kept wanting to run in cool, so when the drive was communicating a call for heat, it wasn't responding to it, and it wasn't switching for the valve to go into heat mode. Other than that, based on the history I looked at, I mean, I think somebody actually left a breaker off over there doing the maintenance one time, which happens. But that's why you always watch the equipment run before you leave, so you don't leave anything turned off. With one of these, that's not a situation where you want the homeowner coming out and turning power back on. You really want to be here and make sure it powers back up like it's supposed to. So let me pull up the gauges. Let me go in here and see what speed we're running at. Go in here, monitor menu, go down to system, go over one. So we are running at a 100% demand. And I say I don't know how well you see that, but so we're running at 100%. That's what I wanted to check. It was 75. I turned it down to 62 just to get it to ramp all the way up. And let's see what our pressures are real quick. Put in my my refrigerant type. I wish it would just hold the last one you used, so you don't have to keep going in and doing this. So wait for that thing over here to link. Turn that back on. Come on. Link up. Alright, let's see if this firmware update. If you didn't know, you got to, every once in a while you got to do a firmware update on these Trane link, or these, not Trane link, my ass, field piece job link probes. And still telling me I need to do one. Alright, now we're good. I was updating the wrong one. So anyway, so we're running about a 9.5 subcool and a 14 superheat. Let's go see what the subcool on this thing calls for. Yeah, that update, I was updating the wrong one. I was supposed to be updating my liquid line, and yeah, so subcooling there says 10 degrees right there. So our subcooling is good at 9.5. So there's not a problem with the refrigerant charge. But yeah, you got to do an update on this thing, and it gives you the instructions. I screenshotted them. So if you're ever having a problem with these things not linking up, it may just need to do a software, firmware update. Just follow these instructions if you want to screenshot that real quick. And it works for the probes, and it works for the pressure transducers. So if you're having problems with your job link not connecting, follow these instructions, do a firmware update on the correct one, and should fix your problem. Yeah, that's gonna be my high side now. Yeah, I'm gonna have to replace that Schrader core probably, or tighten it or something. The charge is good. Probably didn't start leaking until I started messing with it. That's why these things just But get over here to my true suction, and we'll check the pressures. They're going to be a little high. Imagine running the heat when it's 70 or 68 degrees out here. But I want to test the defrost cycle, and then I'm going to check the pressure transducer right here, which is inside the unit. Make sure it's reading an accurate pressure, and then check this sensor down here, this orange one, so I know that this thing's measuring proper superheat out here in this outdoor unit and controlling this EEV properly. Could just be a bad sensor. Alright guys, I've got the book out, so I've already checked the temperature sensor down here on the true suction line. It had 1.08 volts DC, which is about 70 degrees. I got 70 while it was sitting here not running. I had it was 71 degrees on that pipe. And I'm going to see what my superheat is on this thing as it runs in heat. I'm going to check this transducer real quick. There's a chart for that in the book. And I probably explained it before, but we'll go over it again. You can check the transducer on this. The transducer is reading the true suction pressure inside the outdoor unit, correlating that to a temperature, same way your gauges do. And this sensor is reading your true suction line, measuring the superheat across the system, and it's using that information to control this EEV with the stepper motor, maintain the proper flow out here. That's how that works. Then my transducer is going to be this black wire. Get that wire out of the way. I'm going to do the black wire right in there against this white wire. I'm getting 1.7. You look at that, 1.7 volts DC right there. So according to our chart, 1.7 volts DC. Well, how about I look at the right chart, guys? Damn, I'm having one of those days. Suction pressure transducer is this chart. One of those days, guys. 1.72 volts DC is 120 psi. We're running at 128 right now. So let's check it one more time. Maybe a little bit off. Now it's going back, it's going up to 1.85 and 1.85. 1.85 is going to be up to 135, and we're up at 132. So the transducer is good. Make sure you're using the right chart when you're testing this stuff. Anyway, I'm gonna run the defrost real quick on this. Let's do a forced defrost test. So you're gonna go in here, hold this up and down arrows down for 10 seconds, and you can get into this thing. I'm gonna go to the control menu. I'm gonna go down here to force defrost and hit enter. You can hear it slowing down, so it's going to go into a defrost, and then it's going to be reading this temperature on this coil while it's in defrost. And once this temperature of this coil reaches what the termination point is, it's going to come out of defrost cycle. And that's showing you the temperature on that coil right there. It was saying 59 degrees. Let me put a clamp on it real quick. See what the temperature of that is. 59 degrees. So I know that sensor is reading the right temperature. So as of right now, everything seems to be running fine with this unit. Just one of these finicky things, but I'm gonna tell them next time, don't turn it off. Just let it run, go into whatever lockout it's gonna go into, and leave it there until we get here. Because they turn the power on and off. The old man goes out there and turns the breakers on and off. He's trying his best to do what he used to do with old equipment with this thing, and you can't be cycling power on and off to this and not to that, or to that, not to this, because you're going to cause communication faults and communication errors. So I'm going to tell him I really need him to, next time something happens, just leave the thermostat on, calling for whatever it's calling for, and just leave it there till we get here, and hopefully we'll find it doing whatever he says it's doing yesterday morning. But there's no alert codes in this thing at all since about 12 days ago, and those were the normal function alert codes for oil return, compressor lube, things like that. So I don't know, guys. Anyway, like, subscribe, find one of these, go work and play on it. You'll have fun. That really ain't the truth, guys. Appreciate you watching, and have a good one.